Jazzcast Pros.
What happens when one person moves in with just a suitcase and the other brings 10 boxes of memories, including a whole plush zoo? In today's episode, we're talking about how to declutter as a couple without turning it into a tug of war. Whether you're merging styles, stuff, or just trying to find room for both your comfort zones, I've got you covered with simple, peaceful ways to create an oasis together. Welcome to the Declutter Empress Radio Podcast, a podcast to help you create a functional space wherever you roam. I am your host, Daria. Today's episode is for couples who are merging lives and, more importantly, merging their stuff. I want to share a few points on how to do this when two different decluttering styles move in together. So, let's lay out the scenario. One person shows up with only a suitcase full of clothes, maybe a favorite video game, and the other person, well, they've got boxes and boxes and boxes of photos, old notes, and yes, stuffed animals that go all the way back to first grade. Now, this isn't a problem in and of itself. It's a personality blend. One values clear space, and the other values preserving memories. You know, the sentimental type. Both are valid, because it's not that one person is right or the other person is wrong. Remember, minimalism isn't a badge of honor, and sentimentality isn't a flaw. The one thing to remember here is that you are both perfect strangers who didn't grow up in the same household. So what's normal to one person may be clutter to the other, and you want to be fair, gentle, and respectful to each other. So how do you begin? Well, let's start with shared spaces first, like the kitchen, living room, or entryway. Why start here? Because this is where you'll bump into one another, make eye contact, have dinner, and relax after a long day of working. This will set the tone because it says, this is our space now, not just yours, not just mine. So let's start with the kitchen. Let's get rid of some duplicates, which is obvious. But the problem comes in when one person has that favorite blender, you know the one, you now have 3. Or even when you've got 3 can openers. Who needs 3 can openers as you battle for drawer space? Maybe you can swap one can opener for your partner's blender. Okay, I know it may be a stretch, but I think you get my point. You can do this. Let's talk about coffee mugs. How many actually make sense? The point is to try to make it less emotional and more functional. And you can't forget your sense of humor. Laugh at how many spatulas and mugs you've got and get rid of the dupes as you go. Next, let's tackle that entryway. Decide where the keys will go. Have a neutral place to hang them so as you both head out in the morning, you're not scrambling to find your keys. Remember, this is a shared zone that becomes neutral territory. Removing shoes before entry and having a quick place like a shoe wall shelf, something off the floor, or even a small rack that's on the floor for regularly worn shoes helps here too. And then there's the living room. You can negotiate which TV goes in the bedroom and which one stays in the living room. Ask yourselves, is it worth the battle? The truth is, it's going to play your favorite show no matter which room you put it in. Now, here's the second reason to start in shared zones. Tackling individual items is emotionally overwhelming. It's deeply personal. Starting there can trigger shame, defensiveness, or even the feeling of being judged. It's easy for a conversation to spiral into, you want me to get rid of my stuff, but your stuff can stay. So that's why shared zones become neutral territory. It's a place to practice making decisions together. It sets the tone for your home and creates that clean energy and peaceful living environments. Now, there are 5 things I want you to take away from this discussion today. Start with a shared space. Pick an area that affects both of your daily routines. Talk about how you want that space to feel, not just what should go or stay. Make small decisions together. Toss or donate duplicates. Validate each other's style without judgment. Pause when tensions are high. Remind yourselves that it's not about winning arguments. It's about blending your lives. So if you're moving in with a partner, remember that the goal isn't to purge everything overnight. It's to build your oasis one corner at a time, together. It's a space where both of you feel at ease. Decluttering as a couple doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be thoughtful and gentle. So start small. Stay curious as you're learning more about one another in the process. Now, I do want to go back to something here. Two strangers. So before organizing a home, organize your approach because you're not just moving in, you're building an oasis. The question you want to ask yourself is, how do I want to feel? Peaceful, playful, cozy? You get to design your oasis. Another thing to consider is declutter without defensiveness. Instead of saying, why do you have all this junk? Try, is this item still making sense to keep? Does it still serve a purpose? Is it functional? That would change the energy immediately. So if you have a baby blanket or that Care Bear that you've had since the first grade, sure, maybe you both can decide that one of you or both of you can have one tote apiece to put in the closet. And I would suggest keeping in mind compromise. One person really values it, the other is okay with it. And let it go with love. This way you can avoid inventory battles. So instead of going item by item, continue to start with the zones, focused on these shared spaces. Another thing is to design the oasis space. You want to realize that clutter isn't just stuff, it's a signal. So when two people bring in two lives, there is an emotional toll. You get to choose what kind of energy your space holds. Together, you want to ask yourself these questions like, what does peace look like in our home? Which items represent our individuality and which one represents our union? What spaces do we want to be intentional about, like a no-clutter bedroom or a calm coffee corner of the kitchen? So it's really important to create a together zone, a physical space that neither of you owned before, like a bookshelf, a photo wall, a calming entryway table, something you can create together. And you want to be practical about this as much as possible. And you also want to keep in mind that you're working side by side, compromising, negotiating, and laughing. Laughing is good medicine for the soul. So once that foundation is in place, it becomes much easier and less emotional to move into these individual spaces. So your closets, the hobby supplies, the sentimental items, that memorabilia, you've already proven that you can work as a team. You can find a rhythm, and that matters more than any type of label maker or perfectly folded towel. This isn't just about decluttering. It's about creating your oasis space together, a space where you can both breathe, be yourselves, and feel at home. So I definitely want to challenge you to look at your shared zones, and I want you to remember that this is teamwork, and you want to merge gently, and to do the gentle actions, plus observe each other's style without judgment, and make room for your differences. Pause when it gets tense. Remind yourselves that you're blending your lives together. And this does not have to be dramatic. It is bringing you closer together. So start small, stay curious, and build your oasis one corner at a time. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the closet space. Come on. Now, both of you can make a decision as to what haven't you worn in the last 2 years. And I think 2 years is fair. You can stow away items by season under the bed, and it's fine to go ahead and get those donation boxes out. Remember, there is no just in case, and there can be a discussion on that as well. Thanks for listening to Declutter Empress Radio. And if you've recently moved in with your significant other, I want to hear about it. Put your tips in the comments. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, a family member, or anyone who you think would benefit from listening to this podcast. And until next time, take good care of yourself and live clutter-free. Talk with you soon.